forward, the pandemic is totally going to further amplify all of this kind of violence. And it's just, violence across the board, but certainly all of the crazy, kooky violence that came about because of all the Trumpist denialism about the pandemic. Like, it's going to keep on going probably well after we're done with COVID.
If we're ever done with COVID.
And hopefully we don't have herd immunity by the next presidential primary.
Because Vons has already given out vaccines to their workers.
But I think,
we get it. You hate your job.
I don't work at Vons, you dickhead. I don't work at
Vons. That's the thing. I wouldn't. That's like being like,
how you just cut this man off?
That's like being Mancini's wife makes him lunch every day, though. Like,
what?
Okay, bro.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. That didn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure your girl cooks better than you.
No, I'm just saying, like, you're passive aggressively.
Thank you.
I was just using that as an example. Like, you're passive aggressively throwing out a benefit that somebody else gets that you don't because you want it. Like,
why would I want to take the vaccine if I don't fucking have COVID?
I'm just saying.
To answer your
three
point,
different conversations.
Vons gets hero play.
Like,
just leave it at that.
Believe me, that kind of stuff is definitely going to increase over the next few years, as long as there's more of a disconnect between any kind of success that Biden supposedly says he's having with the economy, with the pandemic, whatever it may be. You're still going to have that like fringe group of weirdos that are going to take it out on a school or on a black church or God knows where else, and it's going to be horrific. It's going to be terrible. But this is the instability that we've been, delivered. We've been bequeathed by the Trump era, and so arguably.
But I mean, more black people got killed under Obama than technically any time in history, as far as like white supremacist violence goes. I feel like Trump is like, when Trump happened, it's like, okay, now everybody else can't pretend like this shit doesn't exist because they're coming to your community too.
Right.
That's what it feels like happened with Trump.
I'll give you guys a plot
twist. The pain got spread around.
I'll give you guys a plot twist. I think...
You voted for Trump?
No. I think... I already told you I wrote in Yang. I
thought about Hillary, but you're like, nah, fuck it, Yang.
Fuck no, I'm not running into Hillary.
Twice?
What the fuck you think I am?
A young voter with foolish hopes of unity in the Democratic Party?
Anyways, I'll raise you this.
It's like poker, motherfucker.
Like they say, what unites people? A common enemy. What's the common enemy? Any guesses, either of you?
I mean, there's a couple.
Just shout one out real quick.
Shitty TikTok videos.
Close. Mancini?
Well, if history and political science have taught me anything, the other.
I would say...
Johnny Scott's ankles?
Technology. I mean, I think in this next...
Boomers? I was going to say boomers.
In this next 4 to 8 years, you're going to have the rapid adaptation of AI, AR, all these Uber drivers about to be replaced by autonomous cars, truck drivers, warehouse workers, service people. So I think that's something to watch out, which on one hand, it might raise racial tensions and white supremacy and hate crimes and all that stuff because people are just going to be angry. Or it might become a us or them thing where, people finally get wise and are like, well, we're not going to fucking use this technology because it only makes us stupider and makes you more money.
Yeah, no, you totally hit it on the head. I mean, that during the Great Depression, that was the threat that FDR had, which was basically all of these people that are unemployed, they might revolt. And they might say, we've had enough. And they might say, we want jobs and we want all of these, fat cats in government to pay for it. And if it weren't for all of the labor groups and union leaders and communists and whoever that had not, if they had not pressured FDR into crafting the New Deal, you would have had a Russian Revolution in the United States in the 1930s. So that's, as long as you have the growth of AI and, self-driving cars and self-checkout and whatever, like
that also killed journalists.
that's well, trust me, that adds to it as well. Like you could, the more and more that we lose jobs to robots,
computer
the more
chips,
angry and upset people you're going to get, and poverty is going to go up and violence is going to go up because you're basically cutting off people's wills to live and ways to live. So I think that's something that totally factors in looking ahead at all of the violence that unfortunately is yet to come. So
now factor all that in, and I'll wrap up. This is my last question. I was going to leave with this first, but shenanigans.
Wait.
God damn it!
Does it have to do with your job?
No.
You're not going to mention a sandwich.
I mean, I kind of want one.
Say anything about black seed oil and or a shake.
Well, first off, black seed oil.
You're not going to reference an Uber story on your way to work.
You're a dick.
Or the You're
a horrible friend. Because you do all this behind the scenes, you piece of shit. And you come at... Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's really throwing stones at me for the shit that he does. I'm appalled. You're petty. You're petty. Yeah. This one. But you look at pretty much young people really didn't have a say-so as far as just the last election. Mm-hmm. Like... we're running full speed into our 30s. And you factor in that all these old people are going to die off. And especially the people of the Democratic Party, it just kind of feels like, in terms of young people and who we want and the things we want, we don't necessarily want a person. We clearly have ideals that we want because we know, like, we see what was taken from us in our lifetime. And now we turn around and look at the kids behind us and like, you guys aren't really going to have shit by the time we're 40 and 50. So where do you see the political heartbeat of the Democratic Party going in regards to millennials?
Well, I think going forward, I love your question because this kind of ties in with a statistic that came out in the aftermath of the attack on the Capitol building, where the prime majority of QAnon members or followers or cultists, whatever you want to call them, are in our age demographic. They're millennials. And, I think that the scary thing to notice going forward is our generation, the generation after us, and the generation that is only now approaching adulthood. Like they're still in their teens. Like you're going to have 3 generations of people that will literally inherit a world that has nothing for them. Like no jobs, no incentive to, become a business owner or, it's basically going to be like be an Uber driver or a DoorDash driver or die. And I think in terms of...
That's the episode title.
In terms of the widespread... Before I get to the Democratic Party, in terms of the widespread demographics, I think you are going to see far more tension and far more radicalism all across the board that is going to kind of go back to your previous question, that is totally going to feed into that. And it will be our generation and the 2 after us that are really going to change things for the better or for the worse. I don't know. Always in motion is the future, but that's the danger you run into when you have 3 consecutive generations that are forgotten. In terms of with the Democratic Party, though, I think the big chance that you have going forward is simply having more and more young people become radicalized to the point where they see, they're going to look at Bernie as a martyr of sorts, where it's like, this is a guy who ran for president twice. he had a great platform, he had great policy ideas, but he got shut out by the party establishment, etc., and having to basically fill in for older politicos like him and try to follow in the steps of AOC, of the rest of the squad, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, like basically follow up with what they're doing and try and broaden their base so that you can have a broad progressive slate within the Democratic Party. The problem is, how much pushback are you going to get from the future 70 and 80-year-old moderates and centrists that are like, oh, no, young person, shush. You don't know what you're doing. We know what's good for you. We want to keep bombing Iran after we declare war on them in 2023 or whatever. Like, it's, if anything, it's probably going to continue being stagnant within the Democratic Party for years to come. It's going to take a hell of a lot of time and a hell of a lot of pushback for there to be any kind of change or difference. And it's going to cost the country, because it's kind of like, look, the Republicans openly embraced somebody that their voters wanted, and look where we're at now. If the Democrats had done the same thing with somebody like Bernie, who knows what anything would look like right about now. I mean, I'm not saying it would be perfect. Of course not. If Bernie was president, I mean, let's face it, we wouldn't have as many dead brain cells as we've had over the last 4 years, but at the same time, you'd feel a little more confident that, okay, we have a president who actually knows what he's doing. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard to tell, just because
I'll just say this.
Yeah.
With your point about the youth, like, I think we, having studied mass communication and stuff like that, like, we just learned what all that TV did to us in the 90s, in the 80s, in the early 2000s. And now here we are, serving up these kids with basically unregulated technology. Like, unless you're on the up and up, like, you're not really monitoring your kids' screen time like that. You don't know what they're doing. And so 10 years from now, 20 years from now, a lot of these kids are going to be looking back like, why? Why did you guys let this happen to us? Like, we're all soft now. We all don't want to do shit but double tap on everything. If we can't do it on our phones, we don't want to do it. We don't need it. If we can't order it on our phone, we don't need it. Like,
why would I need to fix a car when it's automated?
Meanwhile, there's all these other countries that, are still on ear to the streets. And guess what? Like, when shit really goes down, you want to send the 19-year-old, 20-year-old who ain't never gotten a fist fight because he was learning on his phone all day long and not in clubs or doing shit, or you want that third world country motherfucker who actually had to do shit and take care of his family and do all that shit and not and also with that, I constantly remind people of this, but a childhood is really only 100 years old. Like, it's really only 3 generations.
That's a bar.
Like, so this whole idea of like, well, like us, everyone told us we were special, told us we could be whatever we want to be.
The world's ours.
And now we got to the point where, like,
they took all our choices from us.
You gave us all these shitty institutions and didn't teach us the rules and just said that we could defy them. But had you just told us the rules, we might have actually gotten farther.
And could have defined them.
And now these kids are like, really like, okay, well, we don't need the rules. We don't need the institutions. But we also don't want to build anything from the ground up because guess what? We got everything handed to us and lazy. So,
yeah.
Not to be that dude hitting the table like, oh, these kids are getting soft, but these kids are getting soft is essentially what I've been saying this 3-minute rant.
Because I personally don't believe in participation trophies. I think they're trash. I purposely broke mine when I was a kid. The fuck?
A podcaster I like, Matt Chrisman, once said, imagine what the 1960s and the civil rights movement would have been like with Twitter. Like,
They a snitch.